What is a draft strategy? What are some examples? Should we use them? How do we use them? Those are all questions we're going to answer here on today's show, tailored to one specific strategy. That is the bully tight end strategy. Maybe the riskiest strategy here in fantasy each and every year. But if you enjoy high quality sports and or fantasy football content, this is the channel for you as we drop 2 fantasy episodes a week. We're on the road to 500 subs on the channel, and we can't get there without you guys. So if you like the channel at any point, all we ask for is you support us down below. But without further ado, this is Owen. This is the Anomaly Podcast. Let's get into this draft strategy. All right, like I mentioned, this is the riskiest strategy on a yearly basis. But if you're risky, right? If you want to go for broke, this is the strategy for you. As on the left side of your screen, you see how you should be drafting on a round-to-round basis. On the right side, you have some quick notes. Again, it's very risky, this strategy. It's going to give you an edge at tight end, which is typically a one-off position. But if you're in a very shallow league, if you're in a league with 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 tight end, having 2 of the elite tight ends is really going to give you that positional advantage on a week-to-week basis. Again, this is the strategy for the risk takers. On the left side of your screen, you're going to see in round 1, we're going to take Travis Kelce with this strategy. He's the only tight end add value to take in the first round, and he's going to be the first round pick for your team. So if you like Travis Kelce, this might be the strategy for you. In round 2, though, you want to look for that league-winning running back. This is kind of also going to be that hero running back strategy where you want to get one of the top 12 guys that you believe will finish as top 12 in the first 2 rounds, and you want to just have him be your only running back. You got to hope for health, and you're also going to have the league-winning tight end in the first round. So you're going to be going for a lot of upside here with this strategy. But rounds 3 through 5, you're going to be looking for either Mark Andrews or TJ Hockenson at the best value. So if that's Mark Andrews in the middle of the 3rd, the end of the 3rd, or even the 4th round for Mark Andrews. Same thing with TJ Hockenson. In this range, you want to just get one of those guys, or both even, at the best value, right? That's basically the overall premise of this strategy. In rounds 6 through 10, if you miss out on Andrews or TJ Hockenson, you want to go get George Kittle. You want to get Dallas Goedert. These are all guys that I think can be top 5 finishers at the position this season. So if you got to get one of those guys. If you're going to go with this strategy, you want to go Travis Kelce, which I would assume everybody has as their number 1 tight end. Then you follow that up with another top 5 tight end, really giving you that positional advantage. In rounds 11 plus, I love to go out there after getting 2 top 5 tight ends. Go out there and draft a Chigo Okonkwo, who's a top 10 tight end for me, or a David Njoku, who's my number 8 rated tight end on the season. So at the end of the day, if I want to do a strategy like this is basically to get 3 of the top 10 tight ends at the position this season so that no matter what, if I have a tight end in a flex spot or if I have 2 flex spots, I can play all 3 top 10 tight ends and have a crazy positional advantage each and every week. That is the overall goal of this strategy. But without further ado, it's time to bully. All right, we're over here on Sleeper, which in my opinion is the best format and the best platform to mock draft ahead of your redraft leagues here in a couple weeks as fantasy season is right around the corner. But again, we're over here on Sleeper. I had a request to do a half PPR and 10-team league draft, so we're going to use that here in the bully tight end strategy. But moving over to the roster settings, I'm going to go with a very standard roster setup. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end with a flex, couple bench spots. Again, this is something that if you wanted to get in an extra league with random people, these are going to be like the draft settings in the lineup that you're going to have to fill out. So we're going to go with a very basic lineup, 10-team league, half PPR. I'm going to pick my draft spot. You guys know I never usually do in these mock draft videos, but just to ensure that I can use this strategy, I will get Travis Kelce here. Apparently not. So we're going to override that pick because that's what we're going to do, right? We're going to override that pick. Tyreek Hill goes 3, Chase goes 4, and we're going to take Travis Kelce at 5. So we're cheating early on here, but I think Travis Kelce in most leagues will fall to the middle of your first round, as people love Travis Kelce, but it's still a little bit risky to take a tight end in the first round. Following the Travis Kelce selection, it was Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Saquon Barkley, Stephon Diggs, and Nick Chubb to close out the first round. To open up the second round, we had Bijan Robinson, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Patrick Mahomes, who I would have flirted with a Kelsey Mahomes stack here early on. But Mahomes goes in the middle of the second, as well as the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we're back on the clock here, and according to the strategy, we're going to be looking for that league-winning running back, a guy that can really put your team over the top, because this is kind of two strategies in one. You want to get your bully tight ends, your 2 top 5 tight ends, as well as that running back that can command your backfield, is the way to put it, I guess. But I'm looking at a couple guys here. I'm looking at 4 guys to be specific. Jonathan Taylor is definitely a top 10 running back for me as of now, but he's on the tail end of that list. I think he is actually number 10 on that list. But there's a lot of questions in the Indianapolis offense and his future, so I'm going to stay away from Jonathan Taylor. Derrick Henry, the king, you can't really go wrong with him on a year in and year out basis, but there is questions about that offense. Josh Jacobs, a top 3 running back for me in my last set of rankings. Right now, there's some contract disputes going on, so will he be back on the field for Las Vegas? I think he will be, but it might just take some time, right? Tony Pollard is another guy that I might take here just because I haven't taken him in a lot of mock drafts. And, of course, Ramondre, but Ramondre is now in the backfield with Zeke Elliott, so I need a week or two to process how that is going to view my drafting of Ramondre this year. But I'm going to go with Tony Pollard to switch it up, a guy who I probably could have gotten in the 3rd round. But with this strategy, we want to get our guy in the 2nd and then follow it up with another elite tight end as Mark Andrews go. We're not going to cheat this time. We're not going to take Mark Andrews off the board because at that point I could tell you just best case scenario what would happen. But according to the strategy, again, this is textbook, but in rounds 3 through 5, you want to get either Mark Andrews or TJ Hockenson. And right now, TJ Hockenson is looking more so like the 5th round selection for me. But we're back on the clock. Josh Jacobs is still there. He's still a guy that can command this backfield. We're looking at the receiver positions. We have guys like Chris Olave or Devontae Smith. I would, in this scenario, in a 10-team league, to get the positional advantage, take Jalen Hurts to have the positional advantage. But I just took Jalen Hurts in a draft on Wednesday, so just to give you guys a different look of how drafts can end up. I've taken Josh Jacobs in a lot of leagues as well. So that's another guy I'm going to stay away from. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to take Josh Jacobs here. So I opened up with 2 top 4 running backs and the number 1 tight end in Travis Kelce. But after the Josh Jacobs selection, it went Ramondre Stevenson, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Deebo Samuel to close out the 3rd round. To open up the 4th round, it was Travis Etienne, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, back-to-back Eagles, Breece Hall, and Joe Burrow. And we're back on the clock here. Najee Harris is a very intriguing pick. And same with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, I mean, if we got Mark Andrews in the 3rd, had Lamar in the 4th, that would have been absolutely perfect. But just to stay true to this strategy, I'm going to reach a little bit here, so stick with me. We're going to go TJ Hockenson, right? We're going to go TJ Hockenson to really just, again, bully at the tight end position, as we now have 2 top 3 guys at the position, and that's just going to give us a positional advantage over everybody here in our leagues, as on a week-to-week basis, we're always going to have, assumingly, the top scoring tight end. But back on the clock here, we see a guy like Justin Fields. He is another guy that is very interesting to pick, as Justin Fields could be very interesting. George Kittle, if we really want to dive into that strategy. But no doubt, I think my pick here is going to be Amari Cooper, with the hope that either DJ Moore or Jerry Jeudy can make it back to us on the in the 6th round there. After the Amari Cooper selection, it was DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, of course, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Hopkins, and Terry McLaurin. All the receivers I was possibly looking at are now off the board, but we still have a top 15 or so guy in Amari Cooper, so I can't be too mad at how this draft has turned out. Again, I would have done a couple things differently, as this draft is not turning out exactly like I thought, as we could have went with Josh Jacobs in the 2nd, but we lucked out and got him in the 3rd. We could have went with Waddle, and there's a couple of different things we could have did differently, including the biggest thing is taking Jalen Hurts there in the 3rd round. I think that sets our team up for a different dynamic. However, we are back on the clock here. 2 great running backs, a top 15 receiver, and of course, the ever great Travis Kelce at the tight end position. And now we're back on the clock. Dameon Pierce is an option. Trevor Lawrence is an option. But if I took Trevor Lawrence, I really love to stack him with a guy like Calvin Ridley. So we might stay away from Lawrence. Again, we have Hockenson. Maybe the quarterback for this team is Kirk Cousins, as crazy as that might sound. But we're back on the clock, and Cam Akers is there. Chris Godwin is there. I think we messed up this draft, to be honest with you. But that is the point of mock drafts, right? To see how different teams can turn out. Drake London is a guy I'm growing on at the receiver position. But I think out of all these guys, I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett, a guy who's a borderline top 20 receiver, a guy who's finished as a top 15 receiver for the last couple of years, but he gets overshadowed because, of course, he plays next to the human action figure in DK Metcalf. But Tyler Lockett is Mr. Consistent, regardless of the quarterback situation. He has been top 15 for the last couple of years. And if I get him on this team with this strategy, that is, of course, a great value at the wide receiver position. Here in the 7th round, we see a lot of quarterbacks starting to go off the board. I haven't really drafted Trevor Lawrence this year just based off of how I like to draft, but I might flirt with the idea here as he is on the board there. Same with Deshaun Watson. And of course, I'm actually going to go with Deshaun Watson, but I'm going to wait one round. I'm going to wait one round to take Watson. And I'm going to get that stack there between Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. If you guys are new to this channel, I love to focus on stacks as much as humanly possible to give me the most upside here on a week-to-week basis. Deshaun Watson is going to be my pick next round. So we really need to figure out, do we want to go with Dallas Goedert, right? Do we want to go with Goedert and just say, hey, we have 3 top 5 tight ends. We're better than you, right? I am going to steer away from that for this video, even though it would be funny. But instead of that, Mike Williams is a guy who, here's an option. Marquise Brown, I think no matter who his quarterback is going to be a really good option because of his playmaking and speed ability. And I'm gonna draft him simply because I love Mike Williams, but there is some competition there in Los Angeles with the pass-happy offense. But there's a lot of competition there in Los Angeles, and Mike Williams is not the most durable. Of course, I say that, and Marquise Brown is questionable here on Sleeper. But Marquise Brown is a guy I haven't drafted a lot this offseason. I want to, again, give you guys a different look as Kyler Murray, for all we know, he could be back week 1. And if he's back week 1, that might be the best case scenario for a guy like Marquise Brown because he's falling in drafts. And he is a guy that you can take, and he could be a sneaky 7th, 8th, 9th round receiver that could finish as a top 25 guy. But then, of course, in the 8th round, like I said, we took Deshaun Parler Watson, of course, as you have to include his middle name there. But as of right now, a quick look and recap of our lineup. At the quarterback position, we have Deshaun Watson, who we just picked up. At the running back position, we have Tony Pollard and Josh Jacobs, 2 top 4 running backs in my personal rankings. Amari Cooper and Tyler Lockett, 2 top 20-ish guys for me. Travis Kelce as my number 1 tight end. TJ Hawkinson's my number 3 tight end. And Marquise Brown. So even though I've kind of hated on this draft so far, I think we actually have done a lot better than what I've given myself credit for. Of course, some luck comes along the way there. But at the receiver position, we definitely need some help. A guy like Jahan Dotson is there, and a guy like Jahan Dotson, everybody is starting to come around to. He might be a really good option this year in fantasy because regardless of if it's Sam Howell in an offense that needs to pass the ball a lot to catch up, or if it's the proven veteran Jacoby Brissett, I think no matter what in the slot role, he's going to get the ball. And Jahan Dotson, strictly for the upside that he has and the how we need it in our wide receiver room, we're going to go with Jahan Dotson just to switch it up. Again, taking some guys we don't normally take. Tua Tagovailoa is there, and that's a guy that I would like to take. We can look at the tight end position. And I think at this point, do we go with Evan Ingram? Do we just overload the position, get 3 of potentially the top 5 guys? I think Evan Ingram has slipped down my rankings a little bit. My top-rated tight end on the board left here is Chig Okonkwo, and that might sound crazy, but I really like Chig Okonkwo, and he's going to be my round 11th pick here. So with that being said that we're going to take Chig Okonkwo in the next round, gives us the potential to take a Brian Robinson or a Devon Achane or even a guy like Elijah Moore, which we're going to take here, a guy who we can pair with Deshaun Watson. And Elijah Moore has been his favorite wide receiver so far in camp. So yes, we have 3 Cleveland Browns on the roster. That's never going to be a recipe for success, but there is upside there. And depending on who Watson likes to favor more is going to help or hurt our team. But in round 11, we are going to get our backup tight end, our third string, and Chigoziem Okonkwo. And those are 3 top 10 tight ends for me. So I have my number 1 tight end, my number 3 tight end, and my number 10 tight end on the year. I think these are 3 guys that on a week-to-week basis, I can very well have the best tight end in each and every matchup against my opponent. And that's the goal of this strategy, is if you're in a shallow league like this where the positional advantages at quarterback and tight end are so much greater than deeper leagues, you have to kind of go with a strategy like this to give yourself that edge at the positional, at the tight end quarterback positions. So sure, we could have went with Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelce to have maybe the best at each position, but since I've taken Jalen Hurts in a decent amount of drafts, I wanted to steer away from that. But here is at the running back position, Jerick McKinnon, Kendre Miller, Khalil Herbert. There's a lot of okay options here for us at the tight end position. We could also quadruple down and take another guy at the position. But what we could do is also go out there and grab a guy like Geno Smith, as I don't have any of these guys tight ends. So we're going to go grab Geno Smith. Of course, Aaron Rodgers was still on the board, but Geno Smith paired with Tyler Lockett is another stack that I have on this team. And of course, you guys know I love to do stacks, as I would have drafted here, I'll show you guys on the board here. I would have drafted Kirk Cousins here with this pick and maybe played the ADP game for Chig Okonkwo. But Kirk Cousins, I was sniped, and he went just 1 pick before myself. But that is going to do it for today's video. Again, at the quarterback position, we have Deshaun Watson and Geno Smith, 2 top 15 guys from me. I think 2 top 13 guys from me. At the running back position, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Regardless, this is not a full mock draft. Usually your mock drafts are going to be, or your real life drafts are going to be 17, 18 rounds. And this one, we only have 12 or so rounds. So it's just a miniatured version to show you how to start your drafts, because after this point, it's kind of just take your best flyer. But at the running back position, we still have 2 top 4 guys in Pollard and Jacobs. Happy with that. At the receiver position, we have a hodgepodge, but we just need one guy to step up, as we have Amari Cooper and Tyler Lockett, 2 guys that are borderline top 20 for me. Amari Cooper, I think, is my top 15th receiver. On the bench, though, aside from those guys, we have Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. Of course, his upside is there if Kyler Murray is back. Jahan Dotson, a guy who's going to be successful with either quarterback. Elijah Moore for the stack. And that is going to do it for our wide receiver room. Now, the point of this video was the tight ends, to get all of the talent at the tight end position and just have that positional advantage on a week-to-week basis. That's why we got the best tight end in the NFL. We cheated a little bit here in this draft. Regardless, you guys got the point. We went with Travis Kelce, followed that up with TJ Hockenson, and ended the draft with Chig Okonkwo. 2 top 3 tight ends for me this year in Kelce and Hockenson. And after that, we had Chig, who right now is a top 10 tight end for me. So that is going to do it for today's video. If you made it to this point, obviously you enjoyed at least some point in the video. So drop a like, subscribe to the channel, as we're on the road to 500 subs, and we can't get there without you guys. So we appreciate any and all support. Let me know what you would have done differently. But until Tuesday, have a great weekend of football as we're approaching the NFL season. And I'll see you guys Tuesday. Stay happy, stay healthy. Have a great weekend. I'm out.